Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beyond the Sideline podcast, a podcast where we talk about anything and everything sports as we give our opinions as fans watching our teams play from beyond the sideline. Man, I never thought I'd utter those words again after being on a hiatus for a little over 2 years now, but we are back and better than ever. And I say better than ever because, as you all can see, if you are on YouTube, we now have video, which is really awesome, and we have a co-host. I would like to welcome Mr. Jake to the Beyond the Sideline team and podcast. Jake, thank you for being my co-host for the foreseeable future. Just give a little introduction about yourself, just how big of a sports guy you are, and just let
Yeah,
the viewers know who you are.
absolutely. Well, hello everybody. A pleasure to be your co-host, Angel. Should be a lot of fun. I am definitely a huge sports nerd. I like to really get into the analytics of it all. I'm a baseball first guy. I'm a New York guy, family from New York, so you'll be hearing me talk Yankees a lot, specifically the New York Football Giants, Rutgers. However sad that is for your college sports, but yeah, I mean baseball and then college football, college basketball, NBA, NFL. I love it all, and I like the mathy part of it all. So very excited to be here. Very excited to talk some sports from beyond the sidelines.
I mean, hey, we everyone needs a sass guy in their life, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so I thought we'd just dive right into it. If I keep looking up, that's because I have a second monitor in front of me with everything laid out.
I
Um,
like that. I like that.
all right, so let's start with NFL. And at the time we are recording this, it is just about 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, and just about an hour and a half ago, breaking news hit the NFL world as Joey Bosa has just been released from the Los Angeles Chargers. That frees up about $23.5 million dollars in cap space. Um, I don't see any other reason as to why they would have cut Joey Bosa than for cap space, but Jake, what are your first thoughts on hearing about that?
Yeah, my first thought was the like it has to be just a money dump. It's got to be a salary dump kind of thing. I don't know. Like I get he was making a lot of money a year. He had just signed that 2 year, $40 million contract with them. Um, Feels like you could have gotten some trade value for Joey
Yeah,
Bosa,
for
just
sure.
like with how good he's been. To see just a straight up release before free agency to kind of just throw him out there, that's what surprises me. Because he's been that good. But I guess the Chargers are really looking for like a reset, just like a total reset salary dump thing.
Yeah, I mean, and they honestly looked great in their first season with Jim Harbaugh. I thought they would just run it back, add some new
Yeah.
pieces. I thought they could have easily been, divisional round, maybe even conference championship contender in the next 2, 3 years.
I completely agree. I think they look really good, and I think obviously Harbaugh is whether you like him or not, he is pretty awesome, and he
Yeah.
he brings a lot of life to an organization. And when you have a guy like when you have a Harbaugh and a Justin Herbert on your team, like the window's kind of always open. So like to shed money at this point, like you don't need to even think about a rebuild. I think it's kind of what they're doing, and they have enough young talent that whether it's Dobbins in the backfield or McConkey out wide, I don't know. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and now you're down, po- without a doubt, your greatest defensive piece and
Mm-hmm.
possibly your greatest piece in general. I mean, Herbert is great, but I mean, Joey Bosa is the guy when you think of the Los Angeles Chargers. So without him, I mean, I don't see where they go from here. I mean, you have 23.5 million freed up now. Do you go out and get a couple guys? Do you maybe try to use that cap space to bring on maybe a guy like Miles Garrett? Maybe you trade some more pieces and bring on his contract. I mean, Jake, where do the Chargers go from here?
I don't hate that idea. I'm hesitant about the Miles Garrett thing because it just seems like the Browns really don't want to trade him. As weird as it, as much as that would make sense for everybody involved, I just don't. I don't necessarily see that happening right now. But I think they have to go out and get someone else. And I mean, what they're picking middle ish in the NFL draft. So like There is a very deep defensive tackle class, I will say, this year, and they'll be able to get guys for value if they want to get younger, which I'm sure they do. Uh, but now they do have money to spend, and I don't know if this is updated yet, this table, but it seems like they have like $60 million in cap space. They have the for 2025. So they've got plenty of money to go out and do things with. So I think be aggressive in free agents, and the defense is what they really struggled with last year.
Yeah.
I think more so than the offensive side of the ball. So, like you said, losing a key defensive piece, like now it's even a bigger hole that they've kind of dug themselves in. So it's going to be interesting kind of to see. I think the draft is going to be really important for them. I think that's what they're prioritizing now.
Oh yeah, I mean, got to go into the draft just looking at everything. Honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, you're losing your ace, your star-studded, you know, ball pressure guy. It's definitely a loss for this Chargers team. But to bounce off of that, another thing that not didn't really shock the NFL world as big as this, as a lot of people were somewhat expecting it to happen. I think to the team that he got traded to was a little surprising. I'm talking about Debo Samuel got traded to the Washington Commanders earlier, just less than 2 weeks ago now. Got traded for a fifth round pick. That is going to San Francisco. As a 49ers fan, I really hate to see Debo leave. He didn't have the best season last year. Just didn't get a lot of opportunities, especially with Brandon Ayuk being obviously the number one receiver on that team for the first couple weeks of the season. Um, Once Ayuk went out, obviously Debo's numbers went up, but he just didn't seem like the Debo we all know and loved. But honestly, I like him with the Commanders. I think he fits well with that team. Him and Jaden Daniels are going to do numbers in the NFC East. But Jake, what are your thoughts on this trade?
I love it. I love it for the Commanders. As a Giants fan, I don't love it because I think this makes the Commanders that much better. I think, and you saw it throughout the playoffs. Like Jaden Daniels was begging for another wide receiver. I mean, besides Terry McLaurin, like their best weapon offensively was maybe Austin Eckler or Zach Ertz, who are like 8,000 years old between the two of them, and you can't like rely on them moving forward. So to have like a bona fide, like, and asking Debo to be a number two, I think is great behind Terry. Debo, 29, so he's still young enough. And I think, shout out Theo Ash on TikTok. He's great. He was breaking down. I just watched this the other day. He was breaking down how Debo's screen numbers are still actually really great. Even last year, he was getting much more yards on screens than the average wide receiver. And Cliff Kingsbury offense with the Commanders. I mean, that's what he loves to do. He loves to throw a bunch of screens and get really creative. So to have McLaurin as kind of your number one, he can do anything. And then Debo in that screen game, that short yardage game, I think it makes their offense even more potent.
Yeah, and I just want to mention one thing that I believe it was Jerry Rice that said this when it was, I want to say 2 or 3 days before the trade happened. Jerry Rice mentioned, he said this towards Debo indirectly, that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Debo obviously has been rumored to be wanting to have a trade the last couple of seasons. His numbers have obviously dwindled since Brandon Ayuk has come to form, and pretty much Jerry Rice is saying, look, just because you're not getting numbers here, who's to say you're gonna get numbers in a new place? Jake, I want to hear your opinion on Jerry Rice's statement.
Yeah, I don't totally disagree. I think definitely like wide receivers can be so volatile just from team to team. And I think from an organizational standpoint, like the 49ers are a much better run organization than the Commanders. But I think if he was going to go to another team, I think this works out really well for him. I think it's a quarterback upgrade. Um, I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I think it's definitely a quarterback upgrade for him, which from a wide receiver standpoint is just so incredibly important. The team, he goes to a younger team, and again, Might the stats not look incredible next year again? I wouldn't be too surprised, but I think just from a regardless of a stat standpoint, just from a fit standpoint, I think this worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I really like Debo on the Commanders. I think Dan Quinn is gonna, pick his brain and he's gonna get him to be the guy he wants him to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's one last thing in terms of NFL that I want to talk about. We mentioned Miles Garrett a little bit, so I'll kind of pivot off of that. But Devontae Adams, I think he's probably the biggest name in the free agent market besides Joey Bosa. Devontae Adams obviously coming off of a not so good year with the New York Jets after being traded from the Raiders. Obviously had that big reunion with Aaron Rodgers. Jets didn't like it. Released Devontae Adams. People are saying he could have a hometown reunion, go to the Niners. Maybe he follows Aaron Rodgers, but Jake, what do you think the future holds for Devontae Adams?
Yeah, I think honestly he instantly becomes like one of, if not the best free agent wide receiver out there for sure.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of teams that could use a guy like him. I don't know if he's quite ready to be. I don't know if he can quite still be like a bona fide number one wide receiver on a team, but he can certainly be a 1B for most teams out there. And he was still he's going to be 32 next year, but he was still really 33 next year. He was still really good this past year. Certainly down year for him, but 840 and 54 yards in just 11 games. That's still a really impressive rate, and that a lot of teams would like. And I think I think if you're a contender, I don't see why you don't go after him pretty aggressively.
Yeah, I mean, I think, even though he had, a semi-down year, it's still Devontae Adams.
Yeah,
Everyone would want a Devontae Adams on their team. Same with DeAndre Hopkins when he went to the Chiefs. Everyone's saying he's old, he's aging, he's a shell of
yeah,
his former self, but he's still DeAndre Hopkins. He's gonna
yeah.
get you numbers.
I think this is a very similar situation, just heightened, because I think Adams now is definitely better than Hopkins was when he was going to the Chiefs, or even the last couple of years. So I think it's going to be even more of an impact than what Hopkins did.
Yeah, and it's just the biggest question for me is if he is gonna stay with Aaron Rodgers, but then it's like, where does Aaron Rodgers go? Because
Yeah.
he's most likely not staying with the Jets, but then who
Mhm.
does he go to?
Yeah, I mean, there's it really. I think we'll probably see the draft play out first, and then the teams, because there's a lot of quarterback needy teams
Oh
out
yeah,
there still, whether it's the Titans or the Browns or the my Giants, the Raiders. And there's very few quarterback options out there. I mean, you have two day one starters maybe in the draft, and then I mean, besides Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins is out there, I guess, and like there's just not a lot of options this year in the offseason, and there's far more QB needy teams than like legitimate starting quarterback options available out there. So I think the market is definitely smaller this time around for Rodgers, just because of how disappointing last season was for him and the year before. I could. I think it'll depend on who he goes to. If Adams wants to try and follow him, I I've heard a lot of rumor. I am heavily involved in Giants Twitter, and I have heard people want. There are some rumblings that the Giants have reached out to him, and the Giants obviously only have one real wide receiver right now. So could Adams take a smaller contract to play with Rodgers there again? Maybe. I'd hate it personally. I'd hate Aaron Rodgers
yeah,
on the New York Giants. I'd absolutely hate it, but I could see it happening. I don't know.
yeah, and I think a lot of teams are also looking at these somewhat younger guys. I mean, look at Sam Darnold. Had a great first season with
Yep.
the Vikings. If he doesn't sign an extension there, everyone's going to be looking to him. Justin Fields, if Russell Wilson
Yeah.
re-signs with the Steelers, Justin Fields did great. I
Yeah.
thought he was going to stay the starter. I mean,
I think he should have too.
Russell Wilson did great with the Steelers. He had a bounce back season, but I mean, you got all these young guys now coming into their own, and I mean, do you want aging Aaron Rodgers? He probably only has maybe 1 or 2 years left. Do you want
Yeah.
to give him
I,
20 plus mil a year?
No, oh God, I definitely don't. I really, but I think even when throwing in Justin Fields and I have a feeling Sam Darnold goes back to the Vikings. I'd be pretty surprised if he doesn't. But even when throwing back in Justin Fields into that mix, I think there's still going to be enough teams out there that are going to have to say they're going to find themselves in a situation saying it's Aaron Rodgers or it's Jameis Winston, and maybe we can make more money if and we get more buzz as a franchise if we bring in Aaron Rodgers. So I think he'll still have a market. I wouldn't trust him at all for any organization, and I even if Devontae Adams comes with him, I wouldn't trust that combo at all. Just based on how it worked out with the Jets.
Yeah, I know they had this big old thing on the Pat McAfee show that
Yep.
everyone in the sports world saw, and it
Yep.
just led to nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. I think that, I mean, like Rogers specifically, I think he just brings a franchise down, just like the work, the work ethic, and it's just not there at this point in his career to like lead a franchise.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely at the end of his prime. He's trying to get something going, but I mean, honestly, I think what's best for Aaron Rodgers is to just retire. I mean, there's nothing left
Yeah,
for him to prove.
yeah, he's hurting his legacy. I mean, he hurt it with his stint with
Oh
the
yeah.
Jets. I mean, he can only do damage at this point. I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only way to complete it is to just pull a Brett Favre, go to the
Yep,
Vikings, finish
I can see it.
finish the circle. Yeah.
Yep, I mean, he really is. He's really following right there.
All right, let's transition into a different sport now. Let's go to the NBA. Let's talk about basketball a little bit. Um, don't want to stay on the NBA too much. There's not a lot to talk about right now. Teams are performing the way they should be performing. But there are two teams that I want to mention. First one being the Lakers. The Lakers have been red hot in the last 20 or so games they've been playing. I think they went 10-2 in February. I think they're 18 of their last 22. They're second in the West right now. And I actually saw a graphic where we came on. Since January 15th, they are first in defensive rating, first in opposing points, first in opposing field goal percentage, first in opposing points in the paint, fifth in opposing 3-point field goals. That is crazy.
I, I think if you had to ask anyone after that Luka trade, how even the whole year, just coming into the year, do you think the Lakers defense is going to be all that? Or, after the Luka trade, like, what do you think the best part of this team is going to be? Obviously offensive, right? But
Yeah,
they just turned it up defensively. It's incredibly impressive. And I think that's why I think it's the defensive outlook that is letting people know, like, okay, like I think they're for real this year. Like not just in the future, but like for this year, they are absolutely a championship contender. And I think Luca being able to take the ball from LeBron and let LeBron kind of conserve his energy on the offensive side of the ball so that he can kind of just do his thing on defense has been so important. And they're just like piecing it together enough front court wise that it is really working. And I think like the fact that they're not winning blowouts, the fact that they really are playing that defense gives me like a lot of confidence for them throughout the rest of the season and into the playoffs.
yeah, and it was kind of funny to see like when the trade went down, everyone was saying, "Oh, the Mavericks are championship contenders now because they got their defensive anchor in Anthony Davis. They got Kyrie. Lakers did it for the long haul. They're probably not in a win now mode, but I mean, Anthony Davis gets hurt. Kyrie's now out for the season. Anthony Davis might get shut down. Now
Yeah,
the Lakers are like, all right, let's just prove everyone wrong. And I mean, who's to say they don't win it this year? I mean, the only real contenders in the West are the Thunder and the Nuggets, and maybe the Warriors. The Warriors are always going to be the Warriors. But I think other than those teams, I don't think anyone can beat the Lakers.
I don't disagree. I think obviously the Nuggets and Jokic are always going to be a threat, especially because the Lakers are a little light in that front court. So Jokic, they could match up well against them. even though a couple days ago the Lakers handled them.
Yeah.
But I think obviously the Thunder are, they're at 50 wins. They're 10 and a half games ahead of the Lakers right now, but they're the youngest team in basketball. And when has the youngest team by far in a league, in any sport, won it all? It's very, very, very rare. So especially when you're talking about Luka and a vet like LeBron, like going against a really young roster, if it comes to that in the Western Conference Finals, like I think they would legitimately have a big advantage because of that experience. And then, right, I mean, I think Golden State definitely looks like more of a threat since Jimmy Butler got there, but I would take the Lakers over them as well. I mean, and then right, those other teams who are at the top of the West right now, Grizzlies, Rockets, Timberwolves, like they don't really scare you.
Yeah.
And it just in a 7-game series, when you know that the two best players on the court most likely are going to be on one side of the ball, like the Lakers, like it's going to be really hard to bet against them. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, as a Lakers fan, it still doesn't feel real. Like having possibly the two greatest players in the sport right now on the same team together. And like you mentioned, you're going out there and the two best players on the court are going to be on the same team.
Yeah.
Um, and I know we mentioned, Western Conference contenders, but in terms of Eastern Conference, I think there's maybe three teams that can contend against them, that being the Knicks, the Celtics, and the Cavs, who are the first team in the NBA to clinch a spot in the playoffs. Just happened just a couple hours ago. They beat the Miami Heat in a very close game that put them at 52-10 overall. They've been undefeated since they traded for DeAndre Hunter. I mean, it begs the question, I mean, are they contenders or are they pretenders because they struggled against the Heat tonight?
It's like part of me wants to say like sometimes it's hard to take this Cleveland team seriously, but
Yeah.
I mean, you look at their record, you look at how they've played. I mean, obviously, right, 12 wins in a row. It's really impressive, and it's hard for me to say that. It's hard for me to say that a 52-10 team is a pretender. I mean, that's absolutely incredible what they've done, and they're very well rounded. They have a bunch of different guys on that roster that can go off on any given night. I have to say right now, I think they're absolutely contenders, especially in an East that doesn't scare you a ton. The Knicks, I think, are awesome. They're my team, but they've definitely struggled against top tier opponents this year. And the Celtics are also really good. They're certainly legit, but there's not many other teams that really scare you. So if you're talking about one, maybe two teams elsewhere that scares you, they should absolutely be contenders in the Cavs.
Yeah, they just, to me at least, they feel a little like the Vikings of the NBA. Like
Okay.
like sure they're doing really well right now in the regular season, but do we think they're gonna make it all the way to the conference finals and go up against probably the Celtics? I personally, I don't think so. I think they might be second round exits. I think they
Wow.
can. I
Okay.
think they can go to seven in the second round. I think they're gonna be competitive. I just don't think they have enough to be that Eastern Conference NBA Finals contender. I think they're maybe one more solid role player away from being that team.
Okay, so what you're thinking like that would effectively be like the Bucks or the Pacers that would take
Yeah,
them out because it's okay.
yeah.
You like those teams better.
I,
Okay.
I, I think they're just well, yeah. I think the Bucks are better than the Cavs.
Okay.
I think that. I
Okay.
think. I mean, they have Giannis. They have Dame. Bobby or Brooke Lopez has been playing pretty well recently. I mean, who's gonna guard Giannis in the playoffs? Giannis in the playoffs is a different beast.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. I hear you. I don't want to bet against the Cavs yet though. I want to see it. I want to see it before
Yeah,
I
I
count
get it.
them out. Mhm.
Um, all right, let's go to a different sport now. Sorry everyone if we're moving so fast. We're recording on Zoom right now, and they're only giving us 40 minutes. So we got to move it along pretty quickly. All right, next sport, baseball. Spring training. We're about halfway through spring training. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we only have about a month left before opening day.
Yeah. Less than a month.
Less
Very
than a
exciting
month.
stuff.
Um, I mean, you can't really say much on spring training as, they only play the starting rotation and the top guys for a few innings. But who do you think are the early favorites to maybe go all the way and win it all?
I think, you have to start with the Dodgers. Obviously, they just won it, and they seem, on paper, kind of far and away the best team. I mean, when you add Roki Sasaki, you have, again, their rotation is fascinating because they have like legitimately nine starting pitchers that could be an ace for any given team. They just basically all nine have a serious injury history. So, like, by the end of the year, there'll be, probably half of them that are left and pitching great come playoff time, and you'll feel really good about them. But you just have no idea what four out of those nine will
Yeah.
emerge. But their lineup is incredibly deep again, and again, they spent another hundreds of millions of dollars this offseason, super aggressive after winning it all. Besides the Dodgers, I actually really like the Diamondbacks in the West as well. They add Corbin Burns. I think they have like a top five rotation in baseball now. They just get totally screwed because they're behind the Dodgers
Yeah.
in the West, obviously, in the National League. But then I know it sounds homerish, but I like my Yankees. I really do. I know we
I
lost
don't
Juan Soto.
disagree.
That's a big move this offseason, but I cannot understate how much better the New York Yankees have gotten defensively and on the base paths this offseason. And they will certainly lose a lot of offense, but the amount that they will gain, the runs that they will gain back in defense and base running, it cannot be understated. So I still think that it's in the American League, which is significantly weaker than the National League still. I think it's the Yankees, and I think there's a gap. And then you have like maybe the Red Sox after them. But that's what I've got so far.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you at all. Yeah, I think the National League is way more competitive. It's definitely very top heavy. Over in the American League, has top heavy. It's only one team. It's the
Yeah.
Yankees. Everything goes through the Yankees. I mean, what you're gonna say? What the Orioles are gonna beat them? I don't think the Orioles are any better. Who
No.
else is there? The Blue Jays. They're not that good anymore. I don't, and off the top of my head, I don't really know who else. The Twins, maybe? The
Yeah, I
Rays?
mean, there hasn't been a good American League Central team in like a decade plus,
Yeah.
and I mean, they seem, especially over the last 5 or so years, to just be a very weak division that never performs in the playoffs. And then, right, I mean, in the West, the Astros are on the down climb. They just lost Bregman, right? I mean, I don't see them improving from last year. Whatsoever when they were an early playoff round exit. And besides that, like the Mariners didn't get any better. They have a great rotation, but they have giant holes in their lineup. Maybe the Rangers bounce back after a bad year. They were in the World Series a couple years ago. Like maybe that's the team to watch out for. But I think the American League East is. So I think there's more like contenders in the East than in those other two divisions combined, and it's not particularly close.
Yeah. Honestly, two teams that we haven't mentioned yet. I think the Phillies and the Mets are
Mhm.
definitely gonna have their say in the National League. Phillies have always been sort of that dark horse. They're like a very mid regular season team, but for some reason, every October they just come swinging and they make their way to the NLCS. And a couple years ago, they were in the World Series.
Yeah,
The Mets now having Juan Soto. I think they could possibly go back to the NLCS too. Maybe they go to the World Series. Maybe it's a Subway Series World Series. I think everyone would love
that,
that.
that would be fun. That would be fun. I will say I have much more faith in the Phillies than I do in the Mets, and because the Phillies, hard not to trust Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber in the playoffs. Like those are they, not only are they all incredible players, but they all four of those guys significantly overperform in the playoffs, like you were mentioning, Angel. And I think to have a, a bona fide 1-2 every single series is such an advantage in baseball. The Mets right now, I understand all the hype. They have Juan Soto, who is, if not the second, the third best hitter in baseball. Uh, but like, you take a look at their rotation, there is not one guy that you trust. They've had a few injuries already. Like Clay Holmes, former Yankee closer last year, who was horrible for the Yankees, is their like two starter right now. Unless I think they need to make some serious moves at the trade deadline in the rotation before I'm like, okay, this Mets team can make serious noise in the playoffs. And maybe I'm just angry that they got Juan Soto. Maybe it's the Yankee fan talking to me, but I really don't trust the rotation, and I think that will come back to bite them, at least in the playoffs.
Yeah. I'm for those who don't know, I'm an Angels fan. So things have been not so
I'm
good
sorry.
the last few years. There was buzz that Art Moreno was going to sell the team. I was so happy, and then he shut that down real quick. So I'm still sad. But Mike Trout is back and healthy. They moved him to right field DH, which I personally love because that's not only going to preserve his health, but he's still going to get out there and hit bombs. I mean, he's been looking pretty solid in spring training. So I'm cautiously optimistic about them. The pitching is doing all right. We got Kenley Jansen. That was a really a lot of people are like, oh, he's Kenley, he's old, but we need something. And then we got the Atlanta Braves 2022 World Series retirement home. We got Darno, we got Soler. I mean, we're just getting these old guys, but I don't know. I mean, Jake, you got an opinion about the Angels?
I feel so bad for you. They're now, the D-backs were my hometown team for the first 18 years of my life, but now the Angels are my hometown team. So I want to root for them. I go to a bunch of Angels games, but they have really been in just the worst place. I think moving Mike Trout to right field is absolutely the right call. I think, again, when he's been healthy, he's still been like a top five hitter in baseball
Oh yeah.
when he's been out there the last couple of years. So like, as long as he stays healthy, I see no reason to believe why he shouldn't still be a top five hitter in baseball if he's out there. The bottom of the lineup for me for the Angels is it gets really thin
Yeah.
really quickly, and then I mean the problem for the Angels for the last decade has just been they have no pitching, they have no starting pitching, and they can hit. They have guys at the top of the lineup that are really impressive, but they don't have a lineup that you trust in the bottom of it, and the rotation is so bad that no matter how many runs they score, they're going to give up more. And I don't know if that's solved right now. I mean, they're relying on 47,000-year-old Kyle Hendricks and Yusei Kikuchi, who's kind of up and down. I don't hate the Yusei Kikuchi move if he's your 3 or 4 guy, but he's like their 1 right now. So I'm worried. I'm worried about the Angels. I'm projecting, unfortunately, another like 4th place finish in that AL West. But I'd love to be wrong because I absolutely rooting for them. And like Mike Trout deserves more than anyone to have a healthy year and get in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you mentioned pitching. I mean, they're in dire need of an ace.
Yeah,
And the Angels have the second overall pick this year. I heard that they were looking at an outfielder, I believe, from Texas A&M. But there is one pitcher who is semi-local to the area who we both root for and we both get to see pitch at the University of California, Santa Barbara. Shout out, Tyler Bremner. I think that is a clean transition into the next
absolutely.
segment.
That's fantastic. That's
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, I mean, so far, Tyler Bremner is without a doubt, he's a definitive top 5 pick in this year's draft,
Yeah.
and he is without a doubt the best pitcher going into the new players draft this summer. I mean, the kid is amazing. I think right now he has a 2.7 ERA, 2.8 ERA. He's only pitched in 3 games so far this season. We'll probably see him
Mhm.
on the mound this weekend as UC Santa Barbara takes on CSUN, probably the first game of the series on Friday. So we'll get to see him a lot. Definitely will be a lot of scouts out there looking at him. I mean, Jake, what do you got to say about our boy Tyler?
I mean, he is fantastic. And again, you mentioned he had 3 starts. He had one that he just went 3 innings and gave up 3 earned runs in that game. But besides that, you take away that 10 innings, 1 run so far. His last time out, he pitched 7 innings and just gave up 1 run and 3 hits against Fresno State. He's fantastic. I mean, I think he gets up to like 98 on his fastball, got some devastating off speed stuff. The strikeout numbers are really impressive. So far in his 13 innings, he's got 12 Ks and no walks. I mean, that's what I love. It's the control. 12 Ks, no walks so far. And when you have like a stud ace like that in your rotation, it makes everything else so much easier for these Gauchos because like you just have someone you can throw out there every fourth game and trust. It makes it so much easier for the lineup, for the rest of the
Yeah.
rotation. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and he's such like I mean, there's no words, honestly. I've only seen him pitch once, and that was at the home opener where he only pitched 3 innings. But that kid can throw. Like he has.
Yeah.
There's there was a streamer that I watch, and he had this story about former MLB player Troy Tulowitzki, and he got a quote from him one day, and he said Troy Tulowitzki said, "Look, you either got it or you don't." And Tyler has got it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other pitcher in college baseball scene right now that I would put over Tyler. And I'm not being biased.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, and we're not being biased because the scouts back us
Oh
up.
yeah,
They have him going top in the draft. So it's not just us. It's Major League Baseball as well that trusts him over just about any other pitcher in college baseball. It's really exciting. I mean, Gauchos are the 16th ranked team in the country right now. I
yeah,
mean,
it's
he's
crazy.
such a big part of that. It's really awesome. I mean, the best non-power conference team in the country by a landslide. So it's really exciting stuff.
Mention Gauchos are 16th in the nation now. Um, I mentioned for those who don't know, well, I mentioned it. We both go to University of California, Santa Barbara. Both involved with the student-ran radio station KCSB 91.9 FM for those who are listening locally. And we have a weekly, what you call radio show called Gaucho Sports Spot, where we talk about everything Gaucho athletics. And I mentioned on there that I think that we can easily be a top 13, top 12 team in the nation. I mentioned it last week as well. I think that we can easily be top 15. Now we're 16th.
Yeah.
And I don't want to diss this team, but I will. Um, that's a credit to Texas A&M. They were the number one team in the nation. They lost to an unranked team, a very bad unranked team, I think. And they dropped all the way down to 14th, so that helped everyone's chances. Everyone in the top 10, I believe, moved up one. We moved up four. I think we were the second, second in terms of like rank changes. Us being plus four, I think Texas got plus 7 or Clemson got plus
Yeah.
7. I think they were number one in that department. But yeah, I don't think there are. I mean, I think there are 9 teams better than us definitively. 9 to 12, in my opinion. I don't know about your
I
thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, it's hard because honestly, quite similar to the basketball team, we don't really play anyone.
Yeah,
Just the nature of how we schedule our non-conference games and the relative weakness of the Big West. Um, it's really hard to gauge just how similar we are to some of these other teams that obviously play much, much harder schedules. That said, I mean, USC is obviously a real team.
yeah,
We absolutely handled them yesterday. And it's not just the fact that we're 10-2 and we're beating people. It's the way that we're doing it that I think makes us clearly a top 10 team in the nation. It's obviously the pedigree. We did this last year. And then, our ERA is 2.64. Like our opponents are batting 184 against us, or their OPS is 590, and then our OPS is 857. Like it's a staggering difference. And just about every category you look at. I mean, we struck out 131 batters in 109 innings. We've only struck out 100 times in 103 innings. So it's all of the underlying numbers are like we're not just beating these other teams in the first 12 games. We're handedly destroying them. So it. I think we are a top 10 team. I think we absolutely are. But it's just like it's frustrating because we're not going to be able to like match up against a top 25 team until like probably the
Regionals.
NCAA tournament, like probably the regionals. So it's just that's my gripe with all UCSB sports. I think it's ridiculous why we don't schedule, especially baseball, where we are so good that like there's no reason why we shouldn't be in some of these tournaments some of these invitationals in the beginning of the year that are like legit like top of the nation teams.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't see why a top 25 team doesn't schedule ranked opponents. I mean, St. Mary's is a great team. We played them, we lost. USC is a great team. I don't see why we don't schedule, why don't we do an Oregon rematch? You know, we lost to them in
Yeah,
the regionals. Why don't we set that up? Maybe
yeah.
pay them to come play us here. Maybe we fly over there, play them at their place. Maybe we go out on the road. Maybe we play a team like Florida. You know, go to these SEC tournaments, Big Ten tournaments.
Yeah.
Why are we sticking with Mountain West schools?
Yeah,
Why does
and
it have
like
to be that?
if you're an opposing team trying to build your if you're a power school and you're trying to build your non-conference schedule, like why wouldn't you want to take a trip out to Santa Barbara and
Yeah.
like come like what a great like beginning of your season to like get a top 25 matchup under your belt and also just like be able to come to Santa Barbara when if you're one of these Big Ten teams, like you're Indiana or you're whoever, it's February, it's early March, it's like 20 degrees by you. Why don't you come out? It should be easy for us to schedule these games and bring teams out here. And it just doesn't make a lick of sense.
No, yeah. You mentioned like why don't teams want to come to Santa Barbara? I remember last Friday I was at the our men's volleyball game when we hosted number 2 UCLA and we were ranked number 16 at the time. We were in volleyball, for those who don't know, every set the teams switch benches. So I was sitting behind UCLA's bench for a good portion of that game. And one of the guys on the UCLA team said to his teammates, "You guys going out to IV tonight?" Like after the game, like
That's
they're like,
awesome.
"Oh, we're going to IV." I'm like, "That's like who doesn't want to come down here?" I mean, I get,
Yeah.
IV can be a little trashy at times, but it's still Santa Barbara.
I completely agree. Like, obviously, right. Obviously, people want to come out here, so it feels like a deliberate like move by our athletic director of like they don't like almost across all sports. Certainly baseball and basketball. Like we just don't want to schedule those games. And
Yeah.
to me, I see literally no downside of
Oh, there
trying
isn't.
to like no downside. I'm scrolling through the past couple years of the base. I know men's basketball. We haven't played a ranked team in like a decade at
Yeah.
least. But baseball, they in 2022 they had a series against number 25 UCLA. So that's something, but that's it. Like that's literally it. Going back pre-COVID until you go back pre-COVID, in terms of non-conference games that against ranked opponents, and I don't get it. Like we should be, we should like. There's no harm. Like baseball maybe there's some like if we rack up wins against bad teams and we destroy Big West competition, maybe our ceiling is higher. Maybe we'll be ranked. We were able to host a regional last year by doing that. But in basketball, like there's literally no downside to scheduling hard teams. So I don't know. That's been my gripe for years with this Gaucho program.
No, yeah. I mean, obviously our basketball team is not gonna be ranked by like just through conference play anytime soon. So yeah, what's the harm in going out and scheduling a game versus Kansas or maybe a lower ranked team like BYU, someone who's on the cusp, or a team like I'm trying to think of another one. Maybe UCLA. They're not
Yeah,
a top 25 team, but they are still without a doubt one of the best college basketball programs in the nation. But what's the
yeah,
harm in
and
scheduling against them?
other teams in the Big West do that. Like Cal
Yeah,
Poly
they play
played some of those
Stanford.
teams that you mentioned. They played Stanford. Like there's no and like really in basketball, just the way that the Big West is set up, the way that March Madness is set up. Like the only way that we can get in to March Madness is if we win the Big West.
Yeah,
It actually might be different. Like UC San Diego might sneak in even if they don't this year. But out of the last 20 years, you only had one team from the Big West win it. It's just an automatic qualifier. So you can schedule like an impossible non-conference schedule, play against the number one team in the country, and then the number two and the number three, go 0-8 non-conference, and it literally wouldn't impact your tourney odds
yeah.
whatsoever. Like, so I don't even like, and then theoretically, you play a tougher non-conference schedule. By the time you get into Big West play, this looks easier. You
Oh
you
yeah,
just play. You've played against the best already. You know what to look for. You're more seasoned. Like that makes so much sense to me. And other Big West teams do that, and yet we don't. And now we're sitting here like kind of on a disappointing year, and it's like, we got to start changing things up and how we do things.
yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I don't see why we can't play, like you said, ranked opponents or even non-ranked opponents who are still
Yeah.
touted as one of the
Yeah,
best.
Power Five conference opponents. They like should be able to do that at least.
Yeah, play a team like Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
we got one of their guys, Colin
yeah.
Smith.
Oh yeah,
A revenge game. I don't know. Show them like, hey, I entered my name in the transfer portal. I'm here now. Look at what you guys lost out on. I think those are kind of fun matchups. It's not
yeah.
like you said. It's not going to hurt you in any way. It's only going to help you
Yep.
come conference play. I think the women should do the same thing. I mean, I
Oh
I,
yeah,
I want to see Gino on the sideline in the Thunderdome. Like
yeah,
I want to
yeah,
I want to see all those guys.
yeah. I mean, we're like just where we're located. We're so lucky that like right in the heart of California. I mean, there are so many incredible athletic programs across all sports within this state, especially basketball. Right? I mean, just the UCLA's, the USC's, the Stanfords, the Berkeleys, like Power Five. You know, college organizations that we should be playing every single year. Like there's like literally no reason why we shouldn't be trying to schedule as many of these California teams, any of the West Coast teams, throw in Washington and Oregon too. Like play as many of those teams as you possibly can every year, and that can only help you. That can only help.
Yeah. I mean, to transition a little bit off that, I mean, we were talking about Big West play. UC Santa Barbara is in the Big West Conference. It's a mid-major. Those who don't know, pretty much if you're not in a Power 4, Power 5, you're in a mid-major. It's conferences that are mid. Like they're they're good, but the only real way to get in, unless you're Gonzaga, is to win your conference. They're still very competitive. Um, I mean, the Big West this year has been very competitive. UC San Diego, as you mentioned, I mean, if they don't win the Big West tournament, can easily be a bubble team. They can get in off of RPI alone. They haven't played anyone great, but they've just been playing great. Um, but Jake, you're actually going to Henderson, Nevada to cover the Big West tournament for both men's and women's. How are you feeling about that?
I'm very excited. I'm very excited. You said it. I mean, this is I think the best Big West conference for men specifically. I think it's the best this conference has been in at least 2 decades since the New Mexico states and Utah states and UNLVs and Nevadas were in this conference. Like since this conference has taken shape in the new form that it is in today, it's the best that it's been. You look at how good. I mean, we have 3 teams in the top 100 in Ken Palm in UC San Diego, UC Irvine, and CSUN, which is easily. I mean, normally we have maybe one. So to have three, especially a UC San Diego team that's top 40 is really exciting. And we've seen it like courtside throughout the year this year. Like it's just there's some really talented players in this conference. And I think a lot of that is like the transfer portal NIL era. Like it has spread out the talent across some of these mid-major teams throughout the country, and it's to our benefit. I'm definitely excited to see a lot of that talent play out in the tourney. And obviously, I will be rooting very hard for UCSB men's and women's basketball. And I think, at the very least, it should be pretty exciting, and we should make for some really great games. Like last year, obviously, both teams didn't get a bye and lost in the first round, the first day of the tournament. I am predicting right now that is not. I think both, at the very least, make it to day two. So it should be really exciting. It should be some good basketball.
Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe we do an episode from Henderson
That
in
could
the
be
hotel
fun.
room.
I'd love it.
Maybe we
I'd
get
love
some
it.
of the other KCSB people in there
Oh
and get
yeah,
their opinions. See how the environment is. That would be really cool. We got to schedule that. And the time zone difference isn't even that different. It's
nah,
only an hour.
right. Yep,
Or
yep.
no, Nevada is in Pacific Coast, right? They're
Even
Pacific
better.
Standard. Yeah.
I think
So
so. Yeah.
we got that. We got that on lock.
Oh yeah.
Let's move a bit broader in terms of college basketball. You said you're a Rutgers guy. I don't know
Oh yeah.
how well they've been doing this year.
Angel, Angel, Angel. It has been so. I'll give you a quick rundown of Rutgers
Okay,
basketball this
okay.
year. They have two of the top three best players in college basketball, quite frankly. Two of the top three picks in this year's NBA draft will be from Rutgers University, which is absolutely insane to say because it's Rutgers who they made the tournament, 2 years in a row, a couple of years ago, but have been dreadful since the 70s besides that. But the stars align and they have these two, Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, just absolute studs, and they've showed out this year. They have been absolutely incredible. And this is a team that, coming into the year had like Final Four aspirations, I think. They lost to Purdue last night. They gave up 105 points. I believe it was honestly, it had a very similar vibe to the UCSB CSUN game
Oh,
on last Saturday,
oh,
where first half was close, and then it ended with a big run for Purdue, and then they just completely just no defense, no heart in the second half. They clinched, finishing under 500. So they will sneak into the Big Ten tournament. They'll be like the 14th best team out of the 18 in the Big Ten, and they'll need an absolute miracle to make a run in the tourney. They'll have to win 5 Big Ten games in a row in a tournament to have a chance to make March Madness. But very, very upsetting, Angel. Very upsetting.
yeah, that's rough. I'm a Kansas Jayhawks fan.
Okay.
But we have not been doing that well
Disappointing
either.
year for you as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very disappointing. And God, I remember when this season started, I was like, okay, we're doing really good. Then the Creighton game came along. I think we were undefeated at that time. I think we were like 6-0, I believe. And everyone was saying, oh, it's Creighton. It should be fine. Kansas is the favorites. I think they were coming in at like 9.5 point favorites, but Creighton, ever since the 2021 March Madness tournament where UCSB lost by one, Creighton has always been on my mind. Creighton is
Mm,
always that team that on paper isn't that good, but they can beat some of the top dogs. That's
yeah.
exactly what happened. They beat Kansas at Creighton, and ever since then, it's just been downward spiral. I mean, I'm not even really keeping up with Kansas at this point. I think they're like sixth in the Big 12 right now. They're still gonna get into March Madness because it's
Oh yeah.
Kansas.
They'll be. I'm sure they'll be like a 6 seed, something
Yeah,
around that line.
yeah, but I mean, I don't think they're making it anywhere past the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Maybe they can sneak into the Elite Eight, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get bounced in the round of 32. I think they did last year against Arkansas, if I remember correctly. Like everyone was
That
like,
sounds right.
yeah, I think I was filling out my bracket and I saw that. I'm
Mhm.
like, ooh, Arkansas, that's a loss. Like I just knew.
Yeah, yeah. Upsetting for them for sure. Definitely disappointing, but I think I'm excited to fill out my bracket come this March Madness as well.
I am too.
It's my favorite part. It's my favorite part of the whole thing. It's got to be, and I think like should be. I feel like the top is really interesting this year. Like Auburn's going to end up with more quad one wins than like any other team in the history of
Yeah.
since quad one wins were a thing, which is pretty cool. But then like obviously Cooper Flag and Duke and like Houston looks really sharp, and obviously just in terms of like non-conference times, like the SEC was like I think they had in terms of overall non-conference performance the second best winning percentage ever in the history of college basketball and non-conference play this year, the SEC. So they're obviously looking very strong. So it should be an exciting one.
Yeah, and then I mean, we were talking about UC San Diego. I mean,
I will have them winning a first round game.
they
Absolutely,
oh yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if
I,
they come into it at like the 11th seed, I think they can easily sneak into the round of 32.
yeah. Oh yeah, and I mean, if UCSB goes down early in the tournament, then I am going to be rooting hard for UC Irvine to beat San Diego in the Big West championship game, because if that happens, I think we're basically guaranteed to get two Big West
Yeah,
teams
I
in the
agree.
tournament for, I mean, the first time since I think we've been alive.
Yeah.
So that's just really cool. And like we're talking about how good and talented the Big West is this year. Like I think both of those teams could legitimately make noise
Oh yeah.
in the tourney, first or
Yeah.
second round.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Irvine would be the lower seed for sure. They're probably going to
Mhm.
get about a 14th seed.
Yeah,
But
they'd probably be 14. That sounds right.
San Diego, if Irvine wins the tournament for Big West, I think San Diego isn't as high as if they were to win the conference. They'd probably be like a 13th or a 12th seed. But if they win the conference, I mean, they can easily be a 10th seed.
Yeah, they could. I mean, right. Yeah, they went out. Like, they really could climb up to 10, which is like, again, crazy. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Certainly, again, not since this, like, the Big Ten, the Big West as we know it formed. Like,
Yeah.
no team has been that high in the tournament, not even close. Like, the highest has been a 12.
Yeah. And then, we're talking so much about the Big West and how good it's been right now, but is it going to be as good in the next couple years? Because Hawaii and UC Davis are leaving come
You know?
2026.
I am very interested to see what happens with this conference, because once they're gone next year, like there's only 9 teams left in the like that's not really enough for a real conference. Like
Yeah.
technically, right? I think you need 8 to be considered like an actual conference to get an automatic qualifier. So it's enough, but it goes from I don't know, like and it's not like Davis and Hawaii basketball wise are like all that necessarily this year,
Yeah.
but I think they're very they're middling in this Big West conference, and to lose them, it definitely is going to hurt. So I don't know what happens. Like I'd love to see I'd love to see like a merger of sorts with. I think you can glom on more to the Mountain West and make a bigger Mountain West, and some teams go there, and some of the lower tier teams like a Fullerton or a Cal Poly maybe don't make it. But I don't see why the
We
Gauchos
can't.
cannot
No.
become
Yeah.
a member of the Mountain West if UC Davis is there. Like there's just no reason. There's no reason why that shouldn't be us.
Yeah. And I mean, UC Davis isn't even taking their football team with them.
Yeah,
They're still going to be
exactly.
FCS, and they're bringing in NIU, which is going to be interesting for football only.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's going to be fun seeing Hawaii play a snow game.
Oh my God, you're right.
Um, that's gonna be fun. But I mean, we're supposedly trying to get a football team back. So I mean, I feel like once we do, if we do, I think we can definitely make a bid for
Yeah,
a relocation, a realignment, Mountain West. But I mean, our basketball teams are pretty mid as of right now. But our baseball team is sound.
yeah. Volleyball,
Men's and women's
soccer.
soccer, volleyball. I mean, we can definitely a dark horse in the Mountain West.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I don't see, and even basketball wise, like I think if we were facing better competition, like it would definitely there'd be like a year, or there'd be a couple year adjustment period, but like I don't see long term why we wouldn't belong there. Again, especially if UC Davis basketball is going to be in there.
Oh, I
Like
know.
we've been consistently better than UC Davis basketball this year aside for the men, but we've been consistently better than Davis for decades, and there's just no reason why we wouldn't be able to compete in the Mountain West if they can.
Yeah. But no, we'll see. We'll see how Hawaii and
Yep.
UC Davis does come 2026. I think there's going to be a little bit more realignment that year as well. I
Mhm.
don't know for sure who's moving. Oh, yeah, I do. Gonzaga. Gonzaga is going to the
Right.
Pac-12. The Pac-12
Right.
is slowly coming back. San Diego State, I think, is going.
Yeah.
A couple other Mountain West schools, I believe, are moving.
Yeah.
Colorado
I could
State,
see like
I think.
I'm just looking at like this West Coast, right? Like I think you could make it so that there's four conferences right now that I'm thinking of: Mountain West, Pac-12, Big West, and the West Coast Conference. I don't see why those four can't conglomerate into three. Like they might have to, but
Yeah,
the Pac-12, right? The Pac-12 is going to re-expand, and then the Mountain West will have to fill up because the Pac-12 is taken from the Mountain West.
yeah,
The Mountain West should then take from the top of the West Coast Conference and the Big West, and then you should combine the Big West
and
and the West Coast
the West Coast.
Conference
Yeah, I think you
to
can.
see what's left. I think that makes the most
No,
sense.
yeah, I think you consolidate the West Coast Conference into the Big West. I think you
Yeah,
just get. I mean, not to say West Coast Conference, isn't decent conference, but I mean, who do they have but Gonzaga and St. Mary's, San
right. Not a
Francisco?
lot. San Francisco, San Diego. I mean, geographically, it certainly makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, it does. I mean, geographically, UCLA and USC being in the Big Ten doesn't make sense, but
Yep.
I mean, hey, Oregon did all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but I think we are going to end that episode here. I think we talked about a lot of great stuff. First episode back in 2 years. Jake, I appreciate you
Happy to be a part of it.
so much coming on. It's so good having a co-host now. Talking to myself for an hour was definitely fun while it lasted, but yeah, we're gonna have more episodes coming your way. For the YouTube viewers, obviously, you now have an incentive to watch on YouTube as we have video now. Spotify listeners still gotta stick with the audio, but hey, come over to YouTube, see our faces. Um, yeah, I thought it went really well. Jake, you got any closing thoughts?
Very happy to now be a part of Beyond the Sideline. I'm excited to see where this goes. Excited for the future of this podcast. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Covered a lot of different talking points. Got animated just enough. Fantastic, fantastic first step back. Very happy to be a part of it.
Appreciate you as always. For Jake, I am Angel. Thank you for listening to this episode of Beyond the Sideline, and keep rocking in the free world.